It occurs to me that I should likely avoid trying to separate the same topic over multiple days of video, since I'm liable to forget what things I've already said and forget my place. So in the future, I'll try to stick to a single topic for the day. I, in fact, only have a little bit more to say on the subject of Ender's Game, but I'll try to finish what I have to complain about the novel, maybe discuss the movie a little bit. The movie, thankfully, I think, is already fading from memory, though, so I may have less to say on that subject. But in terms of the novel, I believe I was on Ender's failings as a spaceship captain, or rather, Orson Scott Card's failure to imagine what an effective leader would do before a spaceship battle. And the last thing I feel like I need to say on the subject is Ender's lack of use of reconnaissance at all. And, you can imagine the scene, or recall the scene, where Ender faces the final battle at the Bug homeworld. And Ender is surprised by the number of ships that the Bugs have. But not only that, all of the High Fleet Command that's come there to watch the final test. I should have quoted the word test there, not the word watch, but to watch the final test. They are also surprised by the number of spaceships that the Bugs have deployed in defense of their homeland. And what that's telling you is that nobody was doing even basic research. Nobody was doing scouting. And that's really inexcusable in a universe where you have access to instantaneous communication. Why not send a single scout ship? Why not send many scout ships? Obviously, anyone thinking clearly would do this. And I want to say, too, that it's, you can't write off these failures in logic or reasoning by saying something like, oh, well, Ender's only a kid. Because obviously Ender's the best kid. He's not even the best kid, he's the best human being. Were there better human beings? Then the Fleet Command wouldn't choose Ender. They would choose, some aged adult, some experienced commander. But they don't. They choose Ender because of his reaction times or his genetic superiority or whatever. And Ender is making these mistakes. And nobody's correcting him. Nobody's saying, Ender, do you think a scout ship would be a good idea? So we don't fly into a massive army of Bug ships that we couldn't possibly hope to defeat unless somebody came up with the brilliant idea of using our matter destruction beam against a planet. So Ender, bad commander. As I mentioned, though, yesterday I mentioned that the way Ender wins is that despite him being really kind of dumb, kind of ordinary child intelligence, the way he wins is that his opponents are just reduced to a level even further still. His opponents are dumbed down enough that they're able to be beaten by the childlike Ender. So we saw that with Stilson and Bonzo. We also see it with the Bugs themselves, or the Formics, I should say. We see it with them too. Their perplexing decision to have their fleet stationary in orbit around their homeworld. That's not a good idea. But we see it, from the very beginning when the Bugs encounter the humans. They decide to, attack a human scout ship or a human ship in system, and they kill the humans on board. They don't realize that humans are sentient creatures, that humans are individuals. And so they just kind of blindly attack or kill humans. And they don't even realize it when their first, the first fleet the Formics send to the solar system is a reconnaissance fleet. Ender could learn something. And the second fleet that the Formics send is a colonization fleet. So what that's telling you is when they send the second fleet, the Formics still have not understood that the humans are sentient, that the humans are sentient individuals. Because as soon as they learn the humans are sentient individuals, they stop trying to kill humans. So the second fleet comes. The second fleet knows that the first fleet has been destroyed by the humans. The second fleet doesn't think humans are sentient individuals. And the second fleet is willing to fight humans. So this is somewhat confusing. It becomes more confusing still when we consider the results of the second fleet's attack or invasion. The Formics have their queen with them in the second fleet, which is, again, not a wise choice. Why would you have your queen, in a battle? Why would you have your queen be committed to a battle when you have instantaneous communication? Why not have your queen somewhere far distant, out in space, somewhere safe? You know the humans are going to try to destroy you. They destroyed the first fleet. But the Formics send their queen out to the front, to the vanguard, to be killed by a lucky shot from Mazer Rackholm. And actually, this is another confusing part. The book goes into some detail that Mazer Rackholm was able to discern a pattern in the disposition of the alien ships, and he's able to identify that one of these is the important ship, which I find unlikely, but whatever. So Mazer Rackholm is able to do that, and then he attacks the important ship and destroys it. So if the Formics don't know that the humans are sentient, they should have no reason to expect that the humans wouldn't try to kill their queen. And the book is also clear on this point, that the Formics are surprised the humans would go and kill their queen. And that's kind of the explanation for why the Formics would send their queen out to the van, why their queen would be in a vulnerable position. Well, the Formics didn't think the humans were capable of murder. But if the Formics don't know that the humans are intelligent, then they should have no reason to believe that the humans wouldn't accidentally murder the queen. The Formics try to disguise which ship is the queen's ship, and you wouldn't do that unless you anticipated your enemy would try to destroy the queen. So the Formics' behavior is inconsistent. On the one hand, they send their queen to the front, as if they expect no one would try to kill an individual. But on the other hand, they disguise the location of the queen's ship, and they disregard the fact that they have no reason to believe that humans know how to identify which ship is the queen's ship and which ship is not. In other words, the humans have already demonstrated a desire and ability to kill Formic spaceships. So even if the humans weren't willing to kill an individual, the humans would just accidentally, or might just accidentally, kill the queen's ship if the queen's ship were ever in any jeopardy. So it's pretty basic common sense that you wouldn't commit the queen's ship to the battle, but the Formics do. And Mazer Rackholm figures it out in the heat of combat by studying how the enemy ships are circling each other, and destroys the queen's ship with a lucky shot, and then earns the status of hero for this accomplishment. Anyway, what other puzzling choices do the Formics make? Maybe that's it. None other come to mind. The Formics rely on apologizing to Ender via communicating with him through the mind game. And they rely on this as a method of apologizing to humans. And really kind of nonsensical. They aren't even clear that their message has been relayed successfully, and they're gambling everything on the hope that it is communicated successfully. At this point, they understand that humans are individuals, and they understand to some extent how humans think. They're able to identify well enough with Ender to present him with comparisons to his family. So you would think that they could probably possess the ability to understand us well enough to, say, propose a peace treaty. The Formics may have trouble communicating with us because they communicate with each other naturally via Ansible. But this problem is not insurmountable, right? The Formics are a species smart enough to build spaceships, to travel the gulf between stars. They aren't dumb. They can't be dumb. So it feels necessary to me that they would have the intelligence to devise a communication protocol between Formic and humans. And there's actually some interesting research, I should say, theoretical papers on how you would devise a method of communication between yourself or between humanity and some fundamentally different alien species. It's an interesting field to study and consider, but the sum of it is that it's not an insurmountable problem. The Formics could have done it. Rather than risk the fate of their entire species on the dim hope that they would be able to persuade Ender not to murder their entire species, they should have tried politics. They should have tried diplomacy. They should have tried communicating with the human fleet. They could have tried negotiating from a position of power, like, well, we're going to send, another significant fleet to your homeworld. We're going to put the humanity in danger, and then we're going to negotiate a truce. Something like that might have worked out for the Formics. Almost certainly would have worked out better than their dumb plan of wait to die. So yeah, the Formics, a failure. The Formics did no research. They, attack humanity with their reconnaissance and force fleet, the first fleet, and attack humanity again with the second fleet, without ever understanding the most important thing about humanity, which is that every individual body is an individual consciousness. And that was something hugely important that the Formics just ignored. They just assumed blindly, dumbly, that alien species would be exactly like them. And you can imagine our own body of science fiction literature or stories, and humans don't make this mistake. So already Orson Scott Card is proposing that the alien species is dumber than he is. He's imagined an alien species that is paradigmatically different than humanity. The alien species that thinks as a collective rather than as a group of individuals. But Orson Scott Card believes the Formics, an alien species smart enough to travel through space, to build stealth starships or stealth bases. The Formics would never think that, maybe these aliens are different than us, or maybe we should study these biological spaceship-destroying automata before we just decide to destroy them or try to destroy them. Anyway, I think that wraps up most of my complaints about the novel. I'll say a few words about the movie, and then I need to get going. But the movie overall tried to capture most of the story elements of the film, of the novel. It did so in a way I felt was clumsy, it entirely ignored the Peter and Valentine take over the world subplot, which was a subplot that I enjoyed. Didn't really characterize Peter in a way that was very true to the book. Like, the novel's character, Peter, has more depth to him. He's not just a psychopath. He's not just a thug. He's intelligent. He's manipulative. He is megalomaniacal. And these are all traits that are portrayed in the book. Didn't carry over to the film. I don't really fault them for that. They already had too much story to tell. I feel the movie would have been better if they had tried something less ambitious. If they had split it into 3 movies, maybe. The first one just covers Ender's rise to power in the battle school. Cover Dragon Army going undefeated against their whole battle season or whoever they had to fight. And then, go to command school for movie 2, go to the Bugger homeworld for movie 3. I think that would have been a better way to break it up, or at least a way to break up the movie so that they could take their time with the characters, so that they could tell more of the plot, they could go more in depth. A few changes they had in the movie. I noticed a silly change was that they included a scene of jet fighters facing off against the Formic spacecraft, which is obviously something that would never happen. If the Formics had domination of space, they wouldn't engage with jet fighters in atmosphere until they dominated the entire planet. It just doesn't make sense. And likewise, I saw the jet fighters attacking Formic spaceships, with their cannon. I don't know, maybe this is the film's way of trying to metaphorically recreate how Orson Scott Card doesn't think about how spaceship battles would unfold. So the filmmakers are going to intentionally not think about how airship battles, in-atmosphere ship battles, would unfold. But I think it's worth saying that you wouldn't attack with your cannon probably ever. I don't know that, I'm not too current on the state of modern avionics, but I wouldn't be surprised if modern jet fighters simply don't have cannon. Why would you when missiles are such a more effective option? Why would you attack with your airplanes when you could fire ICBMs into that cloud of alien starships? I think if the fate of humanity, if humans' ownership of the Earth were in jeopardy, that we would be willing to endure the difficulties posed by a few airbursts of megaton weapons in our atmosphere. So that part was strange. In the film, I didn't like how they cut one of my favorite scenes from the novel, when Ender goes to face his brother, his psychotic older brother, after beating Stilson, or after killing Stilson. And Ender says something like, look at the blood on my shoe, that's not my blood. And Peter just disdainfully, laughs and says something like, oh, did you step on a caterpillar, or something like that. And I really like that scene because it's showing us really the level of crazy, or the level of psychopath that Peter is. Like, Ender has just murdered a child, so we can imagine, the profusion of blood that's likely on his shoe, and it doesn't cause Peter to bat an eye. It doesn't cause Peter to hesitate for a second. Peter has a lack of fear. And more than that, Peter says, oh, did you step on a caterpillar? And here he's at once saying, not only am I not afraid of you, not only am I disdainful of your pathetic accomplishments in the field of violence, Peter's also likely saying, that the boy Ender fought was a bug. You know? And I don't mean a Formic, I mean like a worthless subhuman. You know, Ender and Peter might be humans, but the other lesser mortals around them are like caterpillars to be crushed underfoot at whim. And that's why Peter's not impressed that Ender's foot is covered in blood. He's not impressed because Ender may have fought some human, you know, but that's nothing compared to what Peter is. And I think that's a cool scene in the novel. I would have liked to see it in the film. But whatever, I understand they had to cut a lot of things out. Yeah, overall, the film perhaps exacerbates the problem with the spaceship combat, in that it seems like spaceships are just running into each other, you know, as a kind of unhappy accident in the dead of space. And I don't know, how small do the producers of this film and do Orson Scott Card imagine space is that you would accidentally bump into an enemy spaceship on the frequency of more than never. Yeah, the film is not well thought out. Wasn't particularly impressed by acting, but nor was any of it any problem. So yeah, I think that concludes everything I want to say about Ender's Game. Yeah, tomorrow I'll talk about Game of Thrones.